The ex-soldier wanted a final goodbye with his dog in court, but what happened shocked everyone. Don't forget to subscribe to the Stories of Life's Acts channel. And before we continue this story, let us know where you are from. If you enjoy stories like this, make sure to subscribe as we release videos every day at 12:30 p.m. John Miller is a veteran who served in the United States, military for 15 years. He participated in many operations across various locations, but the years he spent on the battlefield in the Middle East left the deepest marks on him. The suffocating atmosphere of war, the sounds of explosions echoing from bombings, and the sudden attacks made each day a fight for survival. In such a harsh environment, nothing was certain except the necessity of being cautious with every step. But amidst all the danger, there was one companion who stood by his side, not a human comrade, but Rex, a special military dog. Rex was not only trained to detect bombs, but also became John's reliable companion. From the first days Rex was assigned to work with him, they formed an incredibly effective team. Rex's attentive eyes always scanned every corner of the battlefield, while John walked behind, keeping his spirit strong. Rex not only helped John avoid deadly bombs, but had also saved his life on multiple occasions. In one battle, Rex alerted them to an unexploded bomb beneath the ground, helping John and his team avoid a disaster. Even more than that, Rex was a priceless emotional support for John. On dark, lonely nights, amidst the bleak sounds of war, when John's comrades were exhausted and despairing, Rex was always there, offering comfort and a sense of safety, as if the dog understood all the pain and suffering of the soldier. The dog was always by his side, with eyes full of loyalty and rare gentleness in a world filled with violence. Whenever John felt the loneliest, when no one around understood his suffering, Rex was the silent friend, offering companionship without words, just quietly being there. Because of their close bond, when John received the news that his mission was coming to an end and he would be leaving the military, a vague thought began to form in his mind. It was not an easy thought, but it grew clearer with each passing day. He could not leave Rex behind. After all the years of fighting and living side by side with Rex, their relationship was no longer just that of comrades in arms. It had transcended into an inseparable friendship. John knew that when he returned home, Rex would not only be a companion, but an essential part of his life. He would take care of Rex and give him a peaceful life after the long, hard years of combat. John decided that after his discharge, he would apply to adopt Rex. He wouldn't let the loyal dog spend its final days in loneliness or continue to face dangerous missions. He would give Rex a home, a safe and warm place where he could live the remaining years of his life in happiness, without bombs, without war. But things weren't as simple as he thought. After returning from the battlefield, John Miller began the process to adopt Rex. He thought that with the special bond they had built over the years, bringing Rex to live with him would not be too difficult. He envisioned creating a peaceful life for the dog, with morning walks down quiet streets, afternoons sitting together in an armchair, and long, quiet nights together in his small home. However, when he contacted the authorities and made his request, he quickly realized that things were not as simple as he had thought. The United States. Military had strict regulations regarding the discharge of military dogs. Rex, like thousands of other dogs, was considered national property, and therefore transferring ownership to an individual was impossible. They did not allow military dogs to retire unless they had completed their duties or had a proper replacement. A sense of disappointment overwhelmed John. He couldn't believe that after everything Rex had done for him, the dog was still treated like an object that the military could not let go of. John wondered why the decision-makers could not understand that Rex was not just a bomb detection tool, but a loyal friend who had helped him overcome countless hardships. Despite the military's opposition, John refused to give up. He began writing letters to animal welfare organizations, hoping they would help him fight for Rex to live with him. Not stopping there, John also sought support from several lawyers experienced in animal rights cases. He submitted petition after petition, made countless phone calls to agencies, but all he received were cold responses. Rex is national property and cannot be transferred. Finally, John decided to take the case to court. He didn't expect to win. What he wanted most was to see Rex one last time, to say goodbye, thank him, and part ways for good. But at least he could hope for one final moment to honor the special bond between them. The feeling that everything was beyond his control made his heart ache, but he could not let Rex go without fighting for him. When the lawsuit officially began, John felt as though a new battle had started. This time, it wasn't a battle with enemies on the battlefield, but a fight against the system itself, a fight to protect the only friend he had. Things began to get more complicated as the media and public opinion began to take notice of John and Rex's story. Protests from animal rights activists started appearing outside government buildings. They demanded that the military respect the special bond between a soldier and his dog. Photos of John and Rex were widely shared in the media, sparking a strong wave of opposition to the military's regulations. But the military stood firm. Rex could not belong to an individual. John felt as though he was being swept into a struggle with no way out. On many evenings, he sat alone, gazing at the empty chair where Rex used to sit, his heart filled with both hope and worry. He wondered if the dog knew that he was doing everything for one simple reason, so they could continue living together as lifelong companions. But as the legal battle escalated, John had no intention of giving up. He would do whatever it took to see Rex again, even if it meant facing all the barriers set by the military and the legal system. On the day of the trial, John Miller stood in front of the Texas State Courthouse with a tense demeanor. He wore his old military uniform, the faded stripes of his shirt a testament to time, yet still carrying the dignity of a soldier who had endured countless battles. His eyes were tired, but they still sparkled with an unwavering determination. Today was the day he would not only fight for his own rights, but also for a friend he considered family. On the other side of the courtroom, the military's legal representatives sat silently, their faces cold and full of authority. They showed no signs of being moved by John's request. They viewed Rex merely as national property, a tool of war, without understanding that Rex had become an irreplaceable part of John's life, more than just a comrade, but the only friend who had helped him through the darkest days of the battlefield. When John entered the courtroom, all eyes turned toward him. Everyone in the room could see the exhaustion in his eyes. They knew he had fought an arduous battle to stand here today, in front of the court, fighting not only for himself but for a loyal friendship, full of sacrifice. The judge, a middle-aged man with prescription glasses and a stern expression, began the proceedings. He looked at the case file and asked questions about whether John was fit to adopt Rex, and if he could provide the dog with a safe life, free from the dangers of war. John answered resolutely, his voice echoing in the courtroom. Rex has saved my life countless times in the war. I cannot leave him behind. He deserves to have a peaceful life, free from bombs and danger. However, John's words were not enough to persuade them. The military representatives firmly opposed his request, maintaining the argument that Rex was not a living being with rights to freedom, but national property. They stated that the military would find a replacement dog if Rex could no longer serve, and this regulation would not be changed due to personal emotions. John's determination remained unwavering. He only asked for one thing, to see Rex again, to say goodbye. He understood that this could be his last chance to hold the dog one more time before having to let him go, to continue the new life the military had arranged for him. At first, the military representatives opposed this request, citing security reasons and protocol. However, under pressure from the public and support from animal rights organizations, a deal was finally struck. Rex would be brought to the courtroom in a special arrangement, but only for John to meet him once, and he could not keep him for personal reasons. When the courtroom doors opened, Rex appeared, accompanied by a military soldier. Everyone in the room seemed to hold their breath, looking toward the dog and immediately noticing the difference that Rex brought. Gone were the hours of battle, the sound of gunfire. Rex returned on his leash, his eyes shining brightly, ears perked up at the sound of John's footsteps. As soon as Rex entered the room, the dog immediately recognized John. Even though they had been apart for a long time, Rex rushed toward his friend. The dog jumped up, wagging his tail and barking joyfully. The entire room seemed to freeze in that moment. No one could doubt the deep bond between them. Rex was not just a military dog, but a part of John's soul, a loyal friend, inseparable. With tears in his eyes, John sat down and tightly hugged Rex. He whispered softly, as if only able to communicate with Rex through these emotional words. "Do you remember me, Rex? I miss you so much." In that moment, John's tears rolled down his cheeks, but no one in the courtroom could utter a word. The entire trial room fell into silence, as if everyone present felt the power of this friendship. The courtroom remained silent, only the heavy sighs of those present could be heard. John continued to hold Rex tightly, as if not wanting to part from him again. His tears fell, mingling with Rex's soft fur, but he knew, in this moment, no matter how much emotion surged within him, it could not change the final decision. The judge had listened to all the pleas, but he still held firm to his position. The judge, after a long moment of staring at the judgment before him, looked up and fixed his gaze on John. His words struck the soldier's heart like a bolt of lightning. According to military regulations and current laws, Rex remains a national asset. He cannot be transferred to a private individual. John felt as though the earth itself had crumbled beneath him. Those words seemed to sever the bond he had held for so many years with his dearest companion. Rex was not just a dog. He was a part of him, his only source of comfort during the bloody days on the battlefield. Now, after everything they had been through, he was being pushed into the painful reality of losing the one friend he cherished most. John could not contain his emotions. He stood up, his eyes fixed on the judge, his voice low, almost choked. "No, it can't be." He turned to look at Rex, his eyes filled with anguish. The dog stood beside him, looking up at him with a bewildered expression, as if not understanding why they had to part. Rex whimpered and nudged his head against John, as if begging, wanting to say that he could not leave, could not be separated from the one friend he had been with for so long. Having faced fierce battles and bombs, now standing before this decision, John felt utterly powerless. A sense of despair spread through every fiber of his being. He had fought for a cause, for his comrades, but this time he could not fight for Rex, the friend who had helped him survive countless dangers. A moment later, the military signaled for the soldier to lead Rex away, taking the dog back to the army to continue the dangerous missions it had been performing for years. But when the soldier pulled on Rex's leash, the dog refused to move. It stood still, looking at John, and began barking loudly, as if it did not want to leave. These actions only deepened John's heartbreak. Rex couldn't understand why it had to part from its friend. It turned around, ran toward John, wagging its tail as if wanting one last hug. Those present in the courtroom could not help but feel sorrowful upon witnessing this scene. They saw Rex's determination, the absolute loyalty the dog had for John. In that moment, all the tension and exhaustion of the legal battle seemed to flare up. John's tears flowed uncontrollably, and beside him, Rex still refused to leave. The dog was not just a companion, but a part of his heart. The scene in the courtroom became incredibly moving. Rex would not leave. When the soldier tugged at its leash, the dog struggled, pulling forcefully toward John, as if trying to break free from the army's control. Rex barked loudly, not in anger, but in confusion and suffering, as if asking, "Why must we say goodbye?" Everyone in the courtroom watched in silence, their eyes filled with emotion. This was not just a dog, but a creature with feelings, emotions, and a deep bond with its friend. John's tears became heavier, while Rex continued to turn back, nuzzling his legs as if making a simple plea, "Don't let me go." The judge watched the scene before him, his eyes showing a hint of surprise. He had witnessed countless trials, but he had never encountered a situation that left him feeling so conflicted and powerless. Although he had to adhere to the principles of law, the sight before him made it impossible to ignore. No one could remain unmoved by the deep friendship Rex and John had shared for so many years. After a moment of silence, the judge cleared his throat, but could not hide the softness in his voice. "We cannot separate them. Those words echoed like a decision, though not yet the final one, but they completely changed the atmosphere in the courtroom. The room fell silent for a moment, then a significant shift began to take place. All those present in the trial, including the lawyers and animal rights advocates, felt a wave of emotion rise in the air. The judge, who had adhered to the law for many years, was now faced with a unique situation that the law could not address in a dry manner. He quietly observed Rex and John once again, then looked toward the military representatives, waiting for a response. The silence lasted only a few seconds, but it felt as if the whole world was waiting for a decision. Everyone in the courtroom could feel the shift in the air. The judge could no longer simply stand by and follow the rules without considering the emotions, the bond that had developed between the soldier and the dog. He himself could not deny one clear fact: the friendship between John and Rex was undeniable. After a while, the judge sighed, adjusted his glasses, and declared, "I cannot allow such a loyal friendship to be broken. Rex deserves a new life, free from war, free from bombs. I have decided to reconsider Rex's case." The military representatives exchanged glances, their faces clearly showing confusion. They had not expected the judge to change his decision. They didn't know what to do in this situation. But under the pressure of public opinion and the judge's unexpected ruling, they had no choice but to accept. It felt like a wave of relief had broken, and the entire courtroom seemed to breathe easier. Although many obstacles still lay ahead, at least they now had a new chance, a glimmer of hope that John and Rex could stay together. While the military representatives reluctantly nodded in agreement, the judge continued, "The military will find a replacement dog for Rex, and I will issue a ruling allowing Rex to retire early with all the respect due to his loyalty and what he has done for the country." The courtroom erupted in a special emotion. Animal lovers, those following the case, all felt that a small victory had been won for friendship, for loyalty, and for compassion. John turned back and looked at Rex one more time. The dog no longer barked, but its eyes shone brightly, as if it understood that its life had changed. Rex had been granted rest, no longer facing the brutal battles, and its loyal friend would no longer have to say goodbye. John stepped forward, gently embracing Rex and softly saying, "Thank you, Rex. We will live in peace now." The courtroom seemed to erupt after the judge's declaration. Tears, quiet applause, and emotional glances spread throughout the room. John stood there, astonished, unable to believe what had just happened. Rex, standing by his side, was also like a symbol of victory, of friendship overcoming all barriers. When the judge issued his ruling, the tension in the room eased, but all eyes remained fixed on the two main figures of the story: a soldier who had endured brutal battles and a loyal military dog who had fought by his side for years. John's determination had prevailed, and the deep understanding of the friendship between man and dog had broken through the rigid regulations of the military. The judge continued with a few final words, this time his voice no longer stern, but filled with warmth, like a comforting message for those who believe in loyalty and true friendship. "Today, we are not just ruling on an animal ownership case. We have witnessed a great friendship. I hope this decision will be the first step toward larger changes in how we view and treat our loyal companions, dogs like Rex." As the judge signaled to close the trial, a moment of silence lingered for a few seconds before people began to clap, showing their agreement with his decision. Animal rights advocates and related organizations felt like they had achieved a significant victory. John turned to look at Rex, and his eyes were no longer filled with worry or fear. He smiled gently, and although his eyes still glistened with tears, there was a sense of peace in his soul. He knew that today was not just the end of a trial, but the beginning of a new life, a life full of love and peace for both of them. "Thank you, Rex," John whispered. "From now on, we will never have to say goodbye again." Rex wagged his tail happily, as if understanding his friend's words. Nothing could separate them. No law or rule could hinder their friendship. They would walk together for the rest of their lives. After the trial ended, John and Rex left the courthouse, but not with a heavy heart. They stepped outside, into the vast space where there were no legal constraints or the looming threat of war. In a world full of injustice and hardship, they had found a support system in each other. And now, they would not have to face separation anymore. Together they walked in the sunlight, like true friends, on a new path. No more war, no more dangerous missions, only friendship and unconditional bond. Throughout his life, John had fought to protect his country, but today he won for a greater cause, to protect his only, most loyal friend. And with Rex by his side, he knew he would never be alone again. That day, John and Rex left the courthouse with a light and happy heart, as if the whole world had changed. What they had been through, the tense legal battle, the moments filled with tears and hope, had finally led to the result they longed for: reunion and freedom for both. The afternoon sunlight bathed them, creating a peaceful and hopeful scene. John didn't say anything, but his eyes were on Rex the dog he considered his closest companion. Rex walked beside him, his eyes sparkling, tail wagging joyfully, as if he knew his life would no longer face dangerous missions. John reached out to stroke Rex's soft fur, softly whispering, "From now on, you will not have to fight anymore. We will only have peaceful days, Rex." Rex looked up at John, his eyes still filled with trust and unconditional love. The dog didn't need to say anything, but in his eyes, John could see infinite gratitude and loyalty. John's life, after reuniting with Rex, had completely changed. No more blood-soaked days on the battlefield, no more dangerous missions to face. He and Rex had started a new life, one without threats or fear. Every morning, John and Rex would walk together down the quiet streets under the clear blue sky. They were no longer in a hurry, no longer under pressure. Instead, they savored the simplest moments: the warm morning sun, the fresh air, and the stillness that could only be found in those peaceful hours. John had learned that in life, sometimes the simplest things are the most precious. It wasn't the grand victories or the major achievements, but the moments spent beside his loyal friend, living in peace and happiness together. They would greet the sunrise on wide fields, running freely, with no battles, no calls to fight. Just true friendship and a new life, full of hope and warmth. As time passed, John and Rex became a beloved sight in their community. Everyone adored them, and they were always welcomed as heroes without medals, but carrying with them the greatest victory, a victory of friendship, loyalty, and sacrifice. And with Rex by his side, John no longer felt alone. No matter what challenges he faced in life, he knew that with Rex beside him, he would always have a solid foundation. A soldier may leave the army, but the bond between man and dog, a loyal and unconditional friendship, would never depart. Thus, after all the storms, they found a new beginning, a place without war, without bombs, only love and the unbreakable bond between a soldier and his dog. The friendship between John and Rex stands as proof of the strength of loyalty, sacrifice, and unconditional love. Life after the trial was no longer filled with bitterness and struggle, but with sweet, peaceful moments they could share together. Because in every battle, in every challenge, there are things more precious than all the friendship, loyalty, and reunion after great hardship. And for John and Rex, they had found a new life where the simplest things became the greatest happiness. Thank you all for watching until the end. If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss out on the best stories. See you in the next one.